No.
Morning.
I'm sorry, what?
Are you presenting to us today?
No, I am not presenting. I'm here to answer questions.
Anything your shoes? I know, right? I'll feel it tomorrow. Yeah.
I'm just observing.
This is,
If you sit on that side, it means you're pontificating.
Oh, we all could pick a table and sit
yeah, we're-
sit on this side.
Good morning. It's Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Affordable housing meeting is now in order. Our workshop is now in order.
Right, roll call. Chairman Fred Hamilton,
Yes.
Councilwoman Emily Burden. Here. Doug McGill,
here.
Gwen Chambers,
Here.
Enola Salite, Veronica Navarro.
Here.
We need a motion to accept the minutes from June 5th.
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. And, public comments. Do you have any public comments? You are the only public you have, so you have to have a comment.
So make a comment. For the record, Meg James is in with us, for the record.
Not early this time.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Navarro. I'm a business owner. We actually are a small family-owned residential contractor. We build houses here in the Beaufort County, Jasper County. So one of my questions that I can have for you guys is that, are you guys doing something for small builders or the entire community to get to know you, to get to know about this committee? And what are you guys doing in a way to connect with the residents and with the builders itself? Do you guys have a web page, social media, things of that nature?
Okay, I'm gonna defer that question to the town manager.
So, probably not enough, to be honest with you. So that's actually part of what we're talking about later today is how to get more involved with the community to, bring people into, I know, the chairman, Councilor Hamilton, has been pushing for that. He's got one local small builder who's actually building 3 units right now. But most of what the committee has really been focused on in the past has been with the neighborhood assistance program, and trying to get people in to go with that. But we've also worked to do more affordable housing. Most of what we've done has been on property we own. So when it comes to working with people, if you have property you're looking at or that you own that you're wanting to build affordable housing, that's what we need to work on growing. Because everything that we've been working on really has been more geared towards property we've purchased to actually build affordable housing on.
Thank you.
I would ask you if it's okay, having come from the Home Builders Association, that was something, you know, an effort that we tried to make too, which was usually around specific projects, but where would be good outlets? Where would you see information if the town sent it out? Social media, like an email list to their contractors that are already registered?
Well, HBA, right? HBA is one of the first places to go that every single member of the HBA needs to know about these meetings,
Yeah.
about the good that you guys are trying to do. So you have a product, but no one knows that you're selling it. So yes, social media will be the first way to go.
And the town does have an email list from the contractors that are already doing work too.
So you can tell me who took over from you, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so that is our public comments. Pass it back to you, Chairman.
Okay. Our public guest, our guest today is also, not only is a businessman, but he's also the husband of one of our board members and our neighbor to the project that we are doing at 97 Guthrie Road.
Yes.
So thank you for being here and supporting your wife, today. All right, we've, we've here and we have the presence of senior staff and the town manager because we are embarking on the effort to have an affordable housing department.
And
So,
Before you go there, let me give you an update of where we are.
okay, sorry.
Because we have spent some money in the past 2 weeks. So, looking at our memo, fiscal year 2025 ended on June 30th. The Neighborhood Assistance Program was able to assist 42 families with the Town Safe and Dry program for fiscal year 2025. 31 homes received services for minor home repairs. 1 home was demolished for safety issues. 1 home received property cleanup assistance. 7 homes received septic service, and 2 homes received tree service. Staff will begin processing estimates for fiscal year 2026 on Monday, July 7th. Currently, 7 homes are waiting for estimate submittals. Staff is also working on 2 projects for the fiscal year with Save the Shutters. So as of just yesterday, 4 estimates were put in and were approved, and I have 4 more to put in. So right now, we are holding 8 jobs to start fiscal year 2026 in the first week. So we will hit the ground running as always. And then I bring you the Excel sheet. So let me shrink this down for you. Here's where we're starting fresh. Excuse me, here's where we are closing out. This is our closeout for last fiscal year. So you can see where our home repair is set, where our abatement and demolition, property cleanup, septic pump out, tree mitigation. As you see, we haven't really touched, well, I have never touched the private road repair. I think only once back in 2021. The E911 addressing, I have not touched those funds. I have worked with Ryan a few times just to correct some addresses, but nothing that we had to spend money on. So you can see where we closed out fiscal year 2025 there. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Didn't we say the septic pump out was mostly complete or the?
Yes, septic pump out is complete, so that's just minor jobs, say if a toilet backed up or something like that. So let me rephrase, it's not septic pump outs, it was small plumbing jobs, several small plumbing jobs, yes. We no longer have to worry about the septic pump outs.
And then, I may have missed it, but did you say the total for the new year?
I did not bring that to you yet, because I didn't know my supervisor, my boss was gonna work that fast in getting
Okay.
things approved. So I'll bring that to you, when we meet in August. Okay.
I'm looking at the numbers and I see home repairs is one of the biggest budget that you have, 354. Do you know that the Black Chamber of Commerce in Beaufort has a similar program funded by the state? They have a lot of money that they need to give away. And I think if you guys can connect with them and send these homeowners to apply to their program, you guys can save that money to do something else.
Do you know if they work jointly? Could we do
They do.
joint projects?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and they're a nonprofit organization, so they are doing this. They got a need for applications.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that information. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we are all good there. I will pass it back to you, Chairman. I am done with our budget part.
Okay, we will, continue with the workshop that is to, we've all been tasked to come up with an idea of what a affordable, housing department look and feel like, and let's try to figure out how, we can do that where it's gonna be beneficial, to the town of Bluffton. So, I will, if, first of all, is there anyone that done some homework that they'd like to share with us today?
No one's, two of our students sent me assignments, that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, one of your students went to the shuttle tour.
So, oh yeah, well, you did homework.
You went on a field trip with us, so.
I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah,
Please share what you shared with me so we can kind of put everything on the table. Like Chairman said, kind of get some ideas of what, you want us to pass on to staff, and then we will go from there. Right now, it's just a open table discussion where we put a big circle and we just kind of spider it out and see what we can come up with.
I mean, so just from the shuttle tour, I was not one of the students that turned in her homework, but I did go on the shuttle tour. I mean, just wow, this was like just a whole plethora. They are tackling all the things, they are trying all the things, and they are seeing what works. And I just think that it's just a huge resource. I really liked the lady that was running it. She's so passionate about what she's doing. She literally waited and waited for that position to become available and then said, I want this, I want it, and got it. But I mean, they took us to, one of the rows that stood out that they took us to was they did some modular units.
I'm gonna just pause you right quick
Okay.
so staff will know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Last year, I won a Savannah Housing Tour, their nonprofit agency over in Savannah. I went by myself, but I opened it up this year for committee members to go. So Meg and Chairman and myself went, and it was an all-day tour over in Savannah, just doing their affordable housing, some of their habitat efforts, city. The actual tour that was put on, her name is Anita Smith-Dixon, and I am gonna try and get her on our agenda. But it was just kind of showing us everything that they do, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's single-family veterans, how their efforts are for affordable housing.
Sorry.
Also totally
Go on it.
say, Vicky did tell me about that tour, so when she started talking, I'm like, yes, that's.
Yeah. It was a lot, but I mean, it's just, right, it's easier to see what someone else is doing and learn from what they're doing. So the one in particular that stood out was the 2 modular units that they did. It was a series of probably 6 houses. She literally stopped the bus and she was like, tell me which 2 are modular. And everybody was guessing. It was kind of fun. I think we all guessed one right, but didn't guess both of them right, and you seriously could not tell the difference. Now, in that particular instance, their lessons that they learned were that it wasn't as affordable as they would have liked it to be, but I think we know from experience too, in the research that we've done, with modular, you have to have higher volume in order for it to make sense. But I think just the whole, I don't know, just changing the whole language around affordable workforce housing, modular, helping just give the community a vision, which is what they did and what we were able to witness and walk around. It was just so empowering, especially the veterans, the homeless communities. And they still have a ton of like NIMBYism just even within the homeless community and the veteran community that they created. They wanted gates around it because they didn't want, the camps coming into their new space. So it was just like funny, the language and just how those feelings affect everybody no matter, what stage we are in the housing world. So definitely we should put that on the calendar again for next year because I'm sure they'll have even more projects going on. Definitely lean on Anita for feedback. I think this program was maybe something that was started within their city, but then it's its own operation. I think that gives them a little bit more freedom to partner with even more community partners and federal and state funding. So just seeing everything they were doing kind of had the wheels turning about what a particular department could do if it had its own entity within the town. There's a lot, so I don't know. I'm sure I'll chime in more later, but that's it.
Your takeaway was pretty pretty good. They, they also partner with different entities and agencies, so it's not like they just say, we got a pocket full of money, but they realize that
They
it
pull
takes,
from other resources.
pull from other resources to get things done. And one of the, you know, they use the city itself used eminent domain, and the way they used it was very positive. Eminent domain is not always attractive, but the way they used it was pretty positive. They bought, homes that probably were, could be used for illegal activities, if you will. And then but they use, the method of contacting the owners, even if there was heirs in that, and they use their resources to take it out of heirs and so they could purchase it, and rehab it. And it was, they take some small spaces and made it, something that families will be proud to call home. So we, there's a, when you open your, I guess your vision to possibilities, there's so many different angles and so many different ways to be, in the affordable housing spectrum that covers a multitude of things. And so my takeaway from that is that if we get, to a place where we start looking for ways to be creative, we can be, very productive in that aspect. We can find, we can find that we don't have to do it all on our dollars. That's a great part of it.
Remember how they used the one eminent domain for the heirs property too?
Yes.
So it was entangled, right? They didn't have a clean title, but they purchased it from the one relative who came forward and then sold it back to them at market rate, but with a clean title. I mean, obviously there's like a trust factor there, but we've got a ton of heirs property, and it's such a tricky subject. I took really good notes and I have pictures, but there's no good way for me to
Yeah, that's what
I could just pass my phone around.
find the reason of-
And there's I tried to do notes under the pictures. But there were just so many things like that. They had loan programs. I mean, I think having a dedicated staff person that would have the resources to be able to pull in and research all of these things and do some hand-holding for community members, that's huge. I mean, that's kind of what happened with the one staff member and our previous committee member. She took the time to kind of really handhold and walk through the process, and maybe if there was a dedicated department, that staff person would be empowered to be able to have the resources to do that.
I would like to entertain any from that, at least from the tour, if anybody have any questions on, would like us to clarify anything we might have said, because I think that's important.
Fred, if you want to pass this down, it's just like the little brochure handout that they had, and then I could pass my phone down too to scroll through my notes. You can see some of the
You
pictures.
mentioned the modular homes, was that with a private developer, or was that something that the city?
There was a lot of
There was
partners
a
on
lot of hands-on to that. I believe it was city property. They had acres of city property and they just wanted to place some items there. City kind of came together. It was a blight area. And they came in and cleaned it up and just wanted to practice with that modular aspect of things. So that modular came from out of state, but what she was saying, that they had to put money in for a crane, they just had to put so many extra dollars into it. But if you do like a whole city or not a whole city, but a whole subdivision or a whole area of one, it won't be such a cost burden. They were only practicing with the two.
So did the city put the land in and then a private developer do the houses?
I feel like it was even more like, because they're their own entity, right? So they had some funds that they put into it, and then the city.
They pull in this community, that program with Anita Smith Dixon is Coastal, it's on that flyer, CHSA. And they are a nonprofit agency that does fundraising and different things to bring in funds. So they just pool money together. It's not like what we have here that just has a pocket in the budget. They bring in extra funds. So they get funds from all over. And the bank that banks them is,
Is it on the back of that
it's on
person?
the back.
But are they a CDFI also?
Excuse me?
Are they a CDFI also? That nonprofit?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So that's another way how they can get around.
So they are combining nonprofit funds with city funds.
Right.
Right.
And who manages that?
The actual company to put the tour together, the nonprofit that puts the company together.
They manage it.
Yes,
Because they're a CDFI also,
yes.
so they can.
What does that mean, CDFI?
You can receive
Yeah, go
federal
ahead and
funding.
say it.
It means you can receive CDBG and home funds from the federal government.
Okay.
I am gonna get Anita, she should have been to this meeting, but I
And
wanted us to
Anita
be an
works
in-house.
for
She is the leader over it, yes.
CHS, so the nonprofit, not the city.
Right.
Correct. She
Yeah.
used to work for the
She used to
city.
work for the city, but
And she
she
used
saw
to work for
bigger
a bank
things.
doing loans. I mean, like, she is like so perfect and passionate for this position.
But you remember when we had that state representative from South Carolina, and she said that if we did get creative and work with like a nonprofit to do some of the work, that would free us up to be more creative in this area. I forgot her name. She was with the state.
That was during COVID time when we
Yeah.
zipped her in. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So she did talk about that, and it looks like they're doing it that way.
We would have to find us a strong nonprofit agency. to
A
back us.
trust.
Yes, we would have to find a very strong, nonprofit agency. that
Especially if
holds-
you are going to buy Ayers property and then sell it back, yeah.
And then maybe there's loan programs available for him to be able to purchase that market rate land back to get that clean title, you know, just
Yeah.
help with that and whatnot. Anita too, she always kept saying she stays in her lane, so she's super passionate. They want to do all the things for all the people, but they've just really put together, kind of like with Save the Shutters and everybody that, you know, you're bringing in, to really help them where all the needs can be met, but it's not one entity.
Right, it's
meeting
different
all those
arms
needs.
handling one project with different arms involved.
Which is also why we probably need like a full-on department, so that you have all of those, you can help manage all those entities.
So you said, was one of the developments just for veterans?
Yes, they did a tiny home project.
You had to be a veteran.
Yes, veterans, and then right now they're doing one for homeless.
Are any of them focused or do they give priority to the essential service workers, any of the ones that y'all saw? So nurses, teachers, police?
No. No, not at this time.
The homes that we talked about, like that modular project will fit that category.
Essential service
Right, yeah. And they have quite a bit of those as well. We even that home we were talking about where they purchased the edge property, that's, all those are basically affordable housing, that's available to whomever qualifies, right? But when we were, Meg was highlighting the fact that they made, the effort to try to find homes for veterans, and they made an effort to find homes for the homeless, which, you know, in my opinion, is hard to do and is unheard of, but it just shows how much passion and commitment they have to cover the entire spectrum of affordability. Yeah.
With a variety of product, too,
Right.
yeah.
I was gonna say that Savannah's needs are different from our needs. Like, they really had I don't wanna say issue, but a challenge with home placement, especially for those who are homeless. So their needs are different, and to Meg's point, this is an opportunity for us to get more creative.
If they work with the land bank authority, is that a Savannah City Department, a county department?
That,
I cannot answer.
I was trying to Google stuff while she was talking about it. Cause they had like Georgia Dream was like a program too, Land Bank.
That's from the city, the Georgia Dream Home, I think that's city-based. That's based on like what we're doing with Beaufort Memorial.
Yeah.
What we're doing with Beaufort Memorial, they house their employees, staff.
So just based on the needs that I believe we have here in Bluffton or, Beaufort County itself, I did do my homework. Yeah, under number 7, you're gonna see all of the, this point, it's ideas or recommendations that we can explore that I feel will be very beneficial, in the town. And I do believe that could be accomplished, to establish the Bluffton Community Land Trust, and you can read a little of what I meant by that, the down payment and closing cost assistance programs targeted for veterans, but also to first responders. I think there's that huge need for them, and I feel like we owe that, have a great responsibility to them to be able to assist in them, owning a home, an affordable home. And so there are different ideas as to how we can make that possible there. It's items, like I said, under line item 7, 1 through 8. And those are just ideas. And again, I'm hoping that we can tackle and accomplish some of these for our residents.
Do you wanna kind of walk through what you sent in?
All of them? Yeah. So establish a Bluffton Community Land Trust, initial land acquisition. I'm really not sure how much land, the town of Bluffton has and what the purpose or what it could be used for, but this will be ideally, to where we can, get different developers, different contractors, residential contractors, for them to build on those lots, continuing to keep ownership of the land and limiting, the sale of that home. For example, the town owns it. There's an incentive for the builder to come and build affordable housing. And in something that the builder could probably make $100,000 profit, we need to limit that. But also offer incentives to that builder, like tax breaks, at the end of the year, or something. We need to give that builder an incentive to maybe not make that profit upfront, but encourage them and also to help us build something affordable for a resident who will also be limited to the sale of that property and be capped in how much that resident is going to make if in the event they want to later on sell that property. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I think so. So these are just ideas, and we obviously can talk about it and modify, to make it work.
We have, some language that in our, affordable housing, when we contract or we deal with, contractors for projects that we presently doing. So some of what you're saying is already in place.
Okay.
And even like you were saying about, we have a, where we incentivize, the developer or the property to have more density, sometimes even, we pay for the infrastructure. And we put in a covenant for how many years it has to remain affordable. So we do have those things right now in place, and we have projects that's on the way that have to fall under those guidelines.
Okay,
But those, there are times when we have to revisit those, criteria to make sure that we, we are not only, attracting, contractors or developers, but we also make sure that we keep them engaged, is saying that this is something they can do, and we need to communicate with them more to find out how can we make this marriage work.
right.
We did that a really long time ago. That, I think it would totally be worth just, and to your point earlier, doing that again. Just getting there and then as a committee, re-reviewing what current incentives there are with some local I mean, I think Ben Kennedy was like one of them at the time. I think Matt Green was another one. They've done a lot of projects since then. It would be even better to get their feedback. And I think, with, you know, Stephen being, not having, a lot of you guys not having been here during that time, it would totally be worth it to have that little discussion again.
Let me pause for a minute. Kevin or Stephen, any input at this point?
So with number one, you just described exactly what we're doing on 1095 and what we just did for Judge Bush, which is his was private property versus ours was town-owned property. And we actually have other town-owned property, and that's why I said earlier, that's what we've really been focused on, is finding developers for our town-owned property. And we're actually acquiring more property. We're about to get 10 acres up on in Willow Run, which is right on 278, with the purpose of that being to build affordable housing. So we're going to be working on putting that out very soon so we can find a developer to look at affordable housing there. The issue you run into with the land trust and just inside of Bluffton is the amount of land that is in the development agreements that are already, that makes it difficult because they're limited on the rights to be able to build. That's where we've been able to find some partners like with Beaufort Memorial to get them to put affordable housing on land that's already in a development agreement but to get that to happen, council is actually having to give them residential units because they didn't have any. So we're working on that for first reading next week and then second reading in August. But that was through a partnership with Beaufort Memorial, Beaufort County, and Warder Cooper to get 120 affordable housing units built inside of a development agreement that didn't have the ability to build it. So that's what you have as number one has really been what our focus has been. That's been our top priority. The issue is finding the partners to make it work. When it comes to doing the rental affordable housing, the partners are more readily accessible. The owner-occupied affordable housing is where it gets more difficult because it's specifically what you said, and we've had to, that's where we've had to supplement more because it's hard to do owner-occupied to get the level down low enough unless we're actually contributing the land. And like with 1095, we're paying 100% of all the horizontal infrastructure for the site. So the only thing that the person is financing is the vertical construction. And we limited the profit that could be made by the contractor to ensure that that number stayed to meet the affordability levels. So that exactly what's in number one is what's really been our top focus. And I think that's where with the chairman, some of the conversations come from is really how do we go beyond number one to do better. Because I think number one is where we've focused. Now there's ways we can always improve. We found that out with Judge Bush. One of the other things we've done is we adopted an economic development incentive program. Council did that a couple of years ago. We included affordable housing in that to do economic development incentives. So that's how we were able to help Judge Bush with his, because it's in that ordinance, it gives council the ability to provide funding or as needed to help that be built because we see affordable housing as a key to economic development. So when Judge Bush ran up against an issue with water and sewer connectivity, we were able to do a grant from the town to help cover that cost to make it feasible for him to still be able to build affordable. So we've tried to put things in place to be better at accomplishing that partnership.
And are those things that like Victoria, do you get, I don't know, to like be at the table or when opportunities like that arise to like be able to be at the table to kind of share?
Not right now, but.
So that could be, you know, an incentive for a separate department, being able to have that seat at the table to promote the opportunities that the town already has to those.
And sadly, those opportunities are far and few between right now. Trying to find a developer that's willing to not build in the market, to not build a $500,000-$600,000 house and turn the profit that they can build versus being willing to take a smaller profit margin and do an affordable housing. I think Councilman Hamilton worked on Judge Bush for a couple years to get him to get to this point. So part of that is finding the right developers, and that's, so like I said, it's been far and few between so far. It's been property that we've owned. Judge Bush is really the first one we've had that we've partnered with on a private property for small development to be able to make that work. So yes, we can definitely be better than that. And Vicky being involved, again, like I said, we're getting better, but there's always room to improve, and that's why the conversation today.
What about, sorry, we're still on the same one, but with the like deed restrictions, I know we talked about in perpetuity, 30 years, doing better from like the Wharf Street project ones or whatever. I don't even remember.
So our covenants require, if it's a private, that they have to do at least 30 years. For the one that the town is doing, it will remain in perpetuity until council removes it. So the way it's set up is because of, we're actually gonna maintain the common space on the roadway until they are, until council's willing to turn it over to a POA over there that wants to take over the roadway and common space, which the reason we're doing that is because when you start talking about having to put a POA together for 12 people to maintain common space in a roadway, it may add $200-$300 onto your bill per month, and that takes you from unaffordable or affordable to unaffordable. So the only way to really get to the point where we could keep the rates affordable for 60% AMI was for the town to take over the common space. So long as council decides to continue to do that, it will remain affordable in perpetuity.
That was one of the things, one of the workshops we talked about. Moving it past, we learned a lesson about having it for 30 years, and then 30 years came around really quickly.
Yeah.
Things changed.
Well, and we've had some discussion internally about, we have the minimum 30 years in there, so it's hard for us as staff if somebody comes to us and says, we're meeting the minimum. And so some of the conversation may be along the lines of, if you're just doing it yourself and meeting the minimum, it's 30, but it's say if the town's gonna give you an economic development incentive, you're gonna agree to 40 years. Or if you're gonna get land in this, you're gonna agree to 50. And that way there's some guidelines in there that says, if you're coming to the town for additional, you're gonna have to give more to receive. But then again, there's that balance of creating these limiting factors that may take somebody who's like, well, I was gonna build it, but I don't wanna do 50 years. It's trying to figure out how to make that work. Yeah. So at some point in time, it's like, do you prefer to have 12 units for 30 years or 0 units forever? So there's a balance in there of trying not to make those stipulations so high that you keep anybody from wanting to build, but high enough that we make sure we can have affordable for long-term for our residents.
When those questions come about, when there's pushback on it, where does it go? Does it go to the committee or the council?
It normally goes to council.
Oh, okay.
And the reason it would have to be is because if it's a 30 years, that's in ordinance, that's in code. Council would have to change anything to do with that. But again, Judge Bush is the first one. So it hasn't really been an issue that's had to come through the process a whole lot at this point in time.
So, and he's the only one or the first one, but there was that direct connection, right? How do we make that public? We have a lot of landowners here within the town of Bluffton that may have no idea that this is an option for them, that maybe they've never even considered building, but will be willing to do it if they know what it is they can get, how the town can assist and this program.
And that goes to exactly where Council Hamlin has brought this.
That's why we want to make it an department in the committee anymore, so we can have, I hate using this term, but boots on the ground. So, and with the different, I guess, we have to be intentional from now on. It has to be like, we did, home repairs very well. We mastered it, if you will. So at this point, we continue to do that, but now we're trying to be, in your face about how do you plan on using your property? Maybe we can knock on your doors. If there's someone that has, a developer that has the stomach to do affordable housing, we can bring them in and say, tell us how we can make this work. And then we go out to, like what Savannah is doing, finding different partners to make it work. So it has a platform that really could work, but we have to put more effort or more emphasis on finding the tools in the box to make it work.
If I may, Mr. Navarro, had a comment.
1 second, please. I want to give Kevin a chance. I don't know if he wanted to say something.
No, Stephen did a great job.
Kevin really just want to observe, right?
Sorry, I'll make a comment real quick. One of the biggest, I guess, issues for a builder is land acquisition, and you guys have the land, right?
We have large tracts of land. Individual lots, we don't have hardly any of them.
Okay, but why don't we lease the land for the buyer, the homeowners? Why can't you just lease the land for 100, 200 years? So as a builder, I'm not concerned about acquiring land and making money on the land or developing the land. I'm concerned of building something, right? And we cannot go against the market. We're never gonna be able to compete against the market, right? I can make a lot of money building for the market or not building an affordable housing. But if you can find a way to provide the land, the infrastructure, there are many small builders who will be willing and happy to come in at a low price and build affordable housing here in the county. Okay, at a very low price, right? But you need to be able to own the land, lease the land to whoever's gonna buy the property. That way you take away the cost. Instead of the house being, you're gonna purchase it for $300 with the land, if you just lease the land for $5 a month, then the cost of the house is only $200,000. That makes it affordable. It doesn't have to be a small house. It has to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, but the county or the town can hold the land forever and keep that cost down for 100 years if you want to. It's like when you go and buy an apartment or a condo, you buy just the walls, you don't buy the land down there. So that could be a way to look at it if you have the land and then partner with a developer to do the infrastructure and then the small builders to go vertical.
Any thoughts on that, Stephen?
So the only thought I have on that is just, to this point in time, the direction that we've received from council for the projects we're doing is owner occupied, with them owning the land and being future homeowners, saying what we did on Wharf Street, what we're doing on 1095 May River. The question as we get into some of our other larger projects may be more of a rental mixture, and that may be more of an option for something like that, but the ones we've done to date has been strictly focused on subdivided single family home ownership with those covenants. So it's an option in the future. It's just gonna be, the ones that we've initiated haven't followed that model. And that's just been the direction we've received to initially for these smaller lots has been to do owner occupied.
But this will still be owner occupied, it's just the owners don't own the land, right? Just like when you buy a condo or an apartment.
Well, and I would tell you, and y'all please correct me if I'm wrong here, when it comes to some in the community, the government owning the land that your house sitting on may not be an ideal situation for people who want.
I was gonna
Do that
say,
too.
maybe Anita could talk to that, because I feel like they probably have some of the projects that the land is being.
That the land is still, yeah.
Yeah, but I hear what
It's
you're
not
saying.
theirs, the homeowners per se.
Yeah.
I think the city does maybe like lease.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I would see it being more of and there are partnerships, and we've talked to a couple out there where, especially with rental property, with the town still owning the land underneath and them building the rental units because it helps with the tax rates and it keeps it lower and it makes it more affordable. But for somebody who's gonna own the unit and the town's gonna own the land underneath it, I can't speak for all of my council, but I would think that would be something that would be a tough sell in our community, is to talk people into buying a structure that the town owns land in. That's just now, y'all may feel differently and council may feel differently, but I just don't, that's not a direction we've taken at this point in time. I'm not saying that's not an idea that doesn't need to be vetted, it's just a direction the council has not really considered at this time.
Something else that everyone has to keep in mind when you're looking at Savannah. Savannah was a clearly established community for hundreds of years, and it's laid out in a grid system. So all that infrastructure is already in place. So you might be looking at individual lots or individual blocks. Town of Bluffton was 1 square mile in 1987. So a lot of the growth that has happened through these planned unit developments, which are clearly establishing all of the infrastructure. So they're bearing the cost of that infrastructure. And one of our biggest problems that we have is the infrastructure, that it's not in place. So we're, in essence, using, vacant virgin land, so to speak, and all this infrastructure has to be constructed. And that's where the majority of the costs are coming. That's where, we are bearing the cost of that infrastructure. Whereas in Savannah, it was already established. Water, sewer lines, roads are already all there. So you're working on a lot by lot basis, which you then can potentially purchase a lot. The government can purchase a lot and then, work through those provisions. But what we're doing is we're taking vacant pieces of land and creating subdivisions. So that way, the infrastructure can be put in place, and that way we can then construct the home. So you have to keep the mindset.
People get more comfortable with it though, with the town owning it, because you're also footing the bill for all of that infrastructure. So I feel like shouldn't we probably get on board with
that is the majority of the cost. So and that's where it's I hate to I use this term where the cost of a house is still the same cost of the house no matter what. It's the subsidized aspects of it that help to bring down the cost. It's still going to cost the same to build it, but you have to be able to subsidize. That's where we're talking about water, sewer fees.
someone has to pay for it.
So someone has to still pay for it, and that's where we're helping out by doing all that. But it takes time and it takes money. So
and I apologize, but we're still on topic.
I know.
And I hate to, and we may need to continue this at another workshop, and we can do so in the interim at another one, because I believe this is a very important topic to get to where we need to take everything for council. And I know, Councilman Hamilton, I think, are we at 11, we have a meeting? So I don't want to limit, because I think it's a very good discussion. And I know, there's still a lot that we can talk about just on this one topic. I just wanted to kind of bring us, because I know we're going to bump up here against 11 real quick, and I didn't want to get down into another huge topic and then have to stop mid.
And to be honest,
I think it's important to continue.
no, and to be honest, that's one of the reasons that I hesitated to even bring up the list, because and I knew it was gonna take a little while, so I didn't know if this was gonna be the forum to, so.
Well, and I think they're important, and I hadn't seen your list. I'd seen Gwendolyn's list that she sent earlier. because, I didn't see yours, so I apologize. But I believe there's a lot to talk about in there because part of, I think the conversation when we start talking about this position or department or whatever it looks like is gonna be the fact that there's a lot of partners out there. Like, you know, he mentioned the Black Chamber of Commerce, and then we have the Regional Housing Trust Fund, there's CDCC. Yeah, I get my Cs and Ds mixed up. There's also like the Beaufort Housing Authority that has the voucher program they've done, and then we have our partnerships that we've done. So I think there's and as you heard with talking just initially with the tour that you did with Savannah, that working with partners is key. And I think figuring out how we better work with our partners is key to that conversation, whether we move forward with position, department, however it's set up, is understanding what's out there, what we want, what goals we want to accomplish, and what partners can help us accomplish those goals so that when we do move forward, when we come back a year from now, we have a set of clear objectives we're wanting to accomplish, and we can come back and report out and say, we were able to accomplish these objectives that we set out, either through our partners or through what we're already doing as our organization. So.
Matters in this is consistency. If you have somebody who is assigned the responsibility for doing this, developing relationships is what proves productive. The fact that Chairman Hamilton spent 2 years on doing something means that he developed a relationship over that period of time. And having somebody whose primary focus is to develop, nurture, and bring to the town relationships that could benefit the town is, I think, not only important but vital. You have to develop relationships.
I am gonna pause, because we do want to continue this, because you all sound very passionate about it. So if you look at your calendar, let's set a time to meet before our August meeting, to actually sit off record and have a roundtable discussion.
And maybe have Anita there?
I'm sorry? What did you say? All voices matter. Repeat, please. Did you say E? Did you say E?
No.
Yeah, Anita.
Oh, Anita.
I said that. But did you say something? Oh, to be candid.
Anita, I'm sorry. So you want to have Anita at the workshop, per se?
Briefly, even
Briefly.
just a little bit, like.
You guys have to do this before?
Yeah, I definitely have, I know I didn't do the tour, and I'm sorry. But I definitely have a couple of questions, and I'll send those to you beforehand, so she's.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you, 2 dates in July. I'm not gonna give you a lot of options, because a lot of options takes time to decide on. So let's look at, and I'll reach out to Anita as well. Maybe hers doesn't fit with the 2 options that I'm gonna put out. Let's look at Wednesday, July 23rd, or Wednesday, July 30th. No?
I'm out of town the 23rd and the 30th.
Okay.
I mean, but y'all go ahead.
No,
It's probably gonna
no.
be hard to get, I don't think I can do either one of them.
Well, can everybody else do either of those?
I couldn't do either.
30th would be better for me, but I will definitely try to make it on the 23rd.
Veronica is 30th,
I could do 30th or
30th, Councilman?
I can do either day.
Okay. Mr.
I
McGill?
can do either one.
Okay. Staff?
I would ask a favor, if you do it, that it's lunchtime or later, because we have our senior staff and our standing meetings Wednesday morning.
So we're looking at an afternoon.
Yeah, or over lunch, whichever.
Who's providing lunch?
Sound good? Take it out of your paycheck.
Okay.
Or we can split it evenly between.
So we'll look at Wednesday, July 30th. I will reach out to Anita Smith-Dixon as soon as I get back to my desk, and we will go from there. Because I think it sounds like we're all involved in trying to see what we can do with this topic, and we'll go from there.
All right, if we're gonna bring Anita, that's her name, Anita?
Yes.
We're gonna need more than an hour.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Definitely.
So just block off the letter.
Yeah.
Half of the day.
We'll do,
The afternoon.
1.
So, can I ask one more favor ahead of whenever we meet? If you're good. I know we received 2 sets of input. If everybody would look through those, because I think what you're gonna see is there's some overlap between the 2 of those, is if you want to provide any additional input, or if you see a priority within those topics, because I know yours was about 7 or 8 topics, and yours is about 7 or 8, so, and I saw they overlapped. So that way, everybody, we can kind of condense and not have to go through your list, and then your list, and then your list. We can work in the interim to take y'all's topics and put them in kind of broad categories that we can then discuss and make it flow a little smoother, I think.
So I'll condense and then put agenda out.
By the deadline?
When you condense, things that we are already doing, make sure you highlight that.
I had a different thought process. We won't get into it today. About, no, it's okay. About how I form mine. I know that we're doing some things, but yeah.
Reviewing what our current incentives and everything are too, I think would be helpful so that we're not spending a lot of time going over things that we already have.
I think what Vicky can do is, like I said, she can put them in key topics, and then if there's some things that we are doing internally or projects we have, we can pull some information on those just to kind of use them for discussion.
What's your deadline?
Depends if you meet the 30th.
Yeah, it depends on if we can get Anita on the 30th. But for right now, our deadline.
Even though we don't
Right,
have
right,
Anita?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's make our deadline, for any other topic discussions, let's say we're on the 10th right now.
The 23rd?
I was gonna say the 21st, 22nd. So any other topics or discussions after we break this down, get it to me by the 21st or the 22nd.
And then,
we know
I'm
what we're
gonna
looking
send my
at.
questions ahead of time for Anita. Even if she can't be there, can you send them over? Maybe she can
There you
answer
go.
them.
Chairman, I pass you the mic.
Any other closing from the committee before? Thank you all again. I think we are headed in the right direction. We'll see you on the 23rd, is that it?
The 30th.
On the 30th.
Listen.
All right. I'm going,
Send the calendar
I'm
invite.
going with Emily. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thanks, everyone. Thank you.